Hello guys, welcome to the 9th part of the SASS and Advanced CSS course. Today we are going to finish our image gallery. Last video we finished with this element created with CSS Grid, and here's the final result. So first thing what we can do is to implement the images. Let's get started. I've already added to the images folder a lot of these images that will be displayed in our image gallery. So now I will import them here inside a image tag. I will use emmet to do this, and I will link here to the images folder / the first one will be the guitar head element image. I will use the same alternative text as the file name, and I will also add a class called products image. And now you can skip the video until the whole part will be done. You can do it on your own speed. I will implement it. So now the second image. Let me copy that and change it to the red guitar. The same here. Let me just copy it. And now the next one. It should be here. It will be a bass guitar. Next one, a guitar stage. I will format it later. The fifth one will be a acoustic guitar. Next, we've got a metal guitarist. Also, we can copy here and paste to the 7th element here with the HTML tag and Les Paul. It's a type of guitar. You can see in the image later when we'll implement it. Here we've got to the 8th element untapping.jpg. It's a guitar playing technique, and this man on this image is doing this. We can copy this one and paste it here into the 9th element. It will be a classical guitar, and the last element here will be a electric guitar. Let me copy it here, and now we've got our images implemented. So now let's go into the styles of these images. We can here create another class to the images, to each image, and what we need to do, now these images are very huge. We need to scale them to cover only the available width and height to don't go outside of our boxes. So we need to set the width to 100% and do this the same for the height. And also we've got a one special property that will, without losing the quality of image, adjust it to the given width and height, and it is called object fit, and we can set it to cover the whole element but nothing more. And let's save this and see what we've got. And as you can see, these elements are nicely fitting into our defined containers. Now it's time to position the images on the grid. So first, let's add a class to our products, to each of the product, basically because we want to specify the grid on the div elements, so the product class will be appropriate, and inside of it we've got our modifiers. So the 2 dashes and the first one, and we can copy this 10 times to specify to each element where it should be positioned. The first, second, third, 7, 8, 9 and 10. We've got that. We can also here change it. So now let me show you how to position the first two elements. Here at the final version, you can see that the first image is taking 2 rows and also 2 columns, starting from the first one to the third one, and the same with this row. So basically we can specify the grid row starting with the first one and will consist of 2 elements, so it will span 2 elements to the third one. The same will be set to the grid column, so first and also span 2. Basically we can use here to the third. Oh, you can see this version. I will save that. And now this element is taking 2 rows and 2 columns. It has maybe different dimensions than on the final version. It's because these images needs to fit into their containers, but at the end it will look exactly the same. So let's now jump into the second image. Maybe here we can set it to span 2 because we want to be consistent. It's exactly the same to span 2 elements or to set from the first to the third one. The second image will be set with the grid row to first and will span 4 elements. So it will be basically from the first to the 5th line. As you can see here, from the first to the 5th, it's this red guitar, but it's only taking 1 column. So we can set the grid column with only 1 property, grid column, and we can set it to the third column. It will only take this one. And as you can see, it works. It's containing the 5 rows. So now it is good time to pause the video and try it on your own. I can here give you the final example so you can see the final result, and based on this try on your own and you will see the results. Did you manage to do this task? Now I will do it with you so you can check the results. And let's get started from the third image. Here I've got the final version, so we will see where the item should be positioned. And as you can see, the third element starts also with the first row until the fourth one. So the grid row will be set to the first and will span to 3 elements, and the grid column will start from the fourth one and will span 2. And the fourth element, here it is, it starts also from the first to the third row and from the 6th column to the 9th. Grid row will be set to 1/span 3, the same as here, and the grid column will be set to 6th and will span 3. The 5th element is a little bit different. It's this image in the right bottom corner. Of course, you don't need to position in CSS Grid each element below each other to span them from the left to the right. You can set the elements like here, the 5th one, in the right bottom corner. There is no problem with that. We can set the grid row to 6. It's because it's only taking the 1 row from the 6 to the 7, and the grid column, it's from the 11 to the 13. So it will be 11 and will span 2 more columns. The 6th image is this one here. So it also starts with the first row and will span 3, and the column will be set from the 9 and will span 2. Now we've got the 7th element. It's this guitar in the left bottom corner. So it starts from the 5th row here exactly to the 7th. So it's 5 span 2. And the column, it's 1 and will span to the third one and will span 3. So basically 3 columns from the 1 to the 4th. And the 8th element is this guy here. So the row will be 3rd and will span to the 5th, so will span 2, and the column will be from 1 and will span 2. The 9th element is here, this very tight but big guitar, and it will be set to the grid row 1 and will span 5 more elements, and the grid column is 11 and will span 2 from the 11 until the 13. And the last one, our 10th element, it is this biggest image that we've got here. So it is from the grid row number 4 and will span 3 more, and the grid column is set from 4 and will span 7. Let me format it a little bit and see the results. So here is our page that we've got, and it looks exactly the same as the final version. And I find it that it looks really cool. But we need to fix some small features, like this border here, and also add some others. First thing that we wanted to do is to remove this div with this background color in this border. We don't need that anymore. And let's add another properties to the class product. So here, what we can specify is to set the cursor to pointer whenever the user hovers over our image. And also, we can use the hover pseudo class, and inside of it, to the image, we will set the filter property. What does the filter property do? You can find everything on the official W3 Schools site, and here we've got the filter property, and here is an example. It's basically used to format the image. Here we've got the blur property, here we've got an grayscale, also here we've got a brightness, for example, every kind of property to make a filter for an exact image. And we want to apply 2 of the filters at the same time. First will be the blur, and here we need to specify in the pixels, or in our case in the rems, the value. So I'll use the 0.5 rem because I've tested that before. And we also want to use the grayscale, and here is the percentage value. I want the image to be 100% gray, so I will set it here and save it and see the images. And as you can see, the image immediately when I hover over them turns into gray and also blurs a little bit. Now we can start to create the TrackLevel, and as you might guess, it's of course a pseudo element, and it's an after element. And inside of it, what we need to specify, we haven't did that before, we need to specify the content to a real existing value, and it will be the text that will be displayed. So the check, and here the exclamation mark, and also we want this element to contain the whole width of an image and whole height. The font size will set to 3 rem. The position will be set to absolute because we want to position it, not ABS, just absolute, because we want to position it related to this div. So we need in the div set the position to relative. And now we can specify the top parameter with the position absolute. Without that it wouldn't work. We want to have 3 rems from the top, from the spacing, so the check label will be 3 rem from the top border. And also we want to set the text align to center, It's because we want to have the text centered. The color of the text will be set to color white. And maybe that's now. Let's see how it looks like. And as you can see, it's exactly in the position where it should be. But it shouldn't be, it should appear only when we hover over this element. So let's implement this functionality. And to make it like that, we need to specify the opacity to 0 and maybe the transition will be set to all and 0.5 seconds. And also we want to have these nice looking effects that it's smooth a little bit. So we can here set the transform property and translate Y to free rem. And here, when we hover over this element, here inside of it will be to the after pseudo class. The opacity will be set to 1 and the transform property will be set to translate Y with 0 inside of it. And when we save this, we will see this animation, but there is also something missing. We don't see the border in our container, and we also don't see this transition on the image. So let's set it. Here on this image, the transition will be set to all and 0.4 seconds, the same like our after pseudo element, and the border on the container needs to be set to 0.3 rem solid and color white transparent. And now I think everything will be finished. And as you can see, it looks exactly the same like in our final version. So now we've got our image gallery fully completed. So thanks for watching and see you in the next part of this course.